execute in any system, then there is another problem occurs that is known as the phantom problem. The meaning of phantom is basically like, you know what is phantom? Maybe you heard it's like a ghost. Ghost mean that something comes and go, you know, like in stories, jinn. Jinn we can see, we cannot see. It is something like that. So in English, phantom meaning is the same, that something that comes and go, which is something that is visible sometimes and that is invisible other times. So that is known as a phantom. Okay, it's an English word. But how this phantom comes and goes in the database? Okay, obviously we don't have Jinn in the database, but they are using this terminology that in database there are the times that sometimes some tuples or some fields are visible, okay, and on the other times they are invisible. So that is known as the phantom problem, and this can occur while the multiple transactions are working, right? So far we have assumed that database has a static collection of elements. Static means that we have already, defined number of rows in our table, and that is already, if you have 10 rows at the start of your transaction in your table, after that you will have also the 10 rows in your table. So that is a static collection. But phantom problem appears uh, if we are also inserting and deleting those rows. Okay, if we are only reading the data, right, or if we are only updating the data, I mean if we are only changing the values of the variables, then the phantom problem will not occur. But if you are deleting or if you're inserting new rows in the table, then the phantom problem will occur. How this will occur? Because if you have table in the start with the 10 rows, okay, and there are like 10 transactions are executing in the system, and one transaction added some new rows in the table. So before these were not visible to some of the transaction, but now they see like before there were 10 rows, now they can see 15 rows, and maybe some other transaction delete 2 rows, so it become 13 rows. So what is happening? So that is like, adding insertion and deletion of the rows create the phantom problems. So here is the phantom problem. And like you just need to remember that because of the insertion and deletion of the tuples or rows from the table. Girls, can you hear me or no? Hello? Okay. These two girls have some problem. Okay. So just you need to remember that the phantom problem will occur when you are inserting or deleting new rows in the table during the execution. Okay. Then it can happen. So here are the two transactions T1 and T2. Transaction 1, select all, static mean all from the product where color is blue. Okay, so what this transaction is saying that you have to select all the fields from the table product where the color is blue. Suppose we have some table here, okay, for the uh, any product. So for example, this is my table, and I have 3 columns here or 4 columns. Okay, this is my columns, and this is my rows. So like this, I will have the table. So here I have, for example, ID, Okay, here I have the name. I will just write M. Here I have the color. Okay, this color. For now I'm writing only C. And then here you can have the price P. And this table is product table, right? This is my product table. This select all mean that select all these columns: ID, name, color, price. But you have to select only those rows. For example, I have here 2 rows. You can have many. Name is A and B and the blue. So blue and blue, both are blue, okay? And whatever the price is. So for example, I have another row here. And I have third row here, 3, another product here, C, and its color is red. So I write it red. Okay. So the meaning of this, select all from the product where color is blue. So they are saying all mean select all these 4 fields, and but uh, okay, all mean related to the columns, and then you have to check for the rows. So wherever you will find the color blue, choose those rows. So it will choose this one and it will choose this one because the color is blue, okay, not the red one. So answer will come these 2 rows, one A, B, and here is the price 1 and here is the price 3, okay, whatever price. So it will give you an answer of these 2 complete rows. This one was not finished yet. Another transaction came and it says insert into product name and color values. What is written? Asmo maybe or something like that. And color is blue. Okay. It's the name. So they are saying that you go to the product table. Okay. And then you have to add the, because this table was only 2. Let me do it. Where is the razor? In this they have only color and name, so we cancel this price. Okay, we don't have this. Suppose there is nothing like, okay, we have only ID, name, and C. Okay, so ID is by default it will create, so there is only 2 columns, name and color. So the transaction 2 is saying that insert into product. This is the product table, right? This is our product table. And they are saying that insert another row, okay, where the values may be insertion you know already in database 1. So its name is Asmo and its color is blue. So what I will do, I will add one, this transaction is actually adding one more row here, okay, and its ID is 4 and name is Asmo, okay, and the color is blue. Okay, now we have 4 rows. Before we had only 3 rows, and when you executed this query, you get the answer as the 2 rows. Now again, transaction 1 says that select all from product where color is blue. This time, how many rows will come back, and what will be the answer? For this one, having this table, how many rows will be returned? Any answer? 3. Very good, Jalila. Because now this one is also added, okay? This one is added. So this time it gives you answer of 3 rows. But here it was giving you answer of 2 rows. So for transaction 1, it's a phantom problem. Something is visible and then it is not visible, you know. So it's a phantom problem for the transaction 1. For transaction 2, it is no problem because it is just inserting. But for transaction 1, it's a phantom problem. And what this phantom problem creates a problem that it does not let your schedule become serializable. Okay. So if you have this kind of problem, then uh, schedules can't be serializable. So they are saying the same thing here. Suppose there are two blue products, X1 and X2. Okay, here it's transaction 1 reading X1, reading X2, writing X3. Let me see what is the. Okay, this is the schedule for maybe this one. Let me read. R1, R1, X2, writing X3. This one is for this one, and these all are for this one. Okay, so this is a schedule for this one. Okay, this R1, this R1 is reading here. Okay, and R2 is also reading here. This one is here, and again you are, because all is like, why all? Because we had the two elements, this name and this color. Okay, so you are reading two variables here. So you will read the x1 and x2, and then the transaction 2 came and it's right. Insertion comes under the writing. Okay, and it's add another this gizmo, third element, x1, x2, x3. Already we had two, and now the third one. So when the next time transaction 1 will read, it will read x1, x2, and x3, right? And what they are saying here in the next slide, that this is not a serializable schedule because of phantom. So if you will write this schedule, and if you will try to bring it before mean, what does it mean? This one is for this one. Okay, but if you try to swap the positions, mean take it here and bring it down. Okay, so they are saying this is not possible, because if you will apply the precedence graph, you will see that there might be a loop. Okay, so this is not a possible. We can see quickly here, W2 R1, there will be a loop in this one. So let me solve it, check it if there is a conflict or no. There is no conflict in this one. Here is the conflict. Okay, so actually we cannot create the precedence graph here. Anyway, you cannot swap this position, but they are saying that, okay, if you have this schedule and by swapping the position of the different non-conflicting pairs, so no, that is not possible. We cannot do that. So this is not a serializable because of the phantoms. So how to handle the phantom? A phantom is a tuple that is invisible during the part of the transaction execution, but not all of it. The same thing, your transaction 1, your complete transaction 1 is this and this, but this tuple was not present here, but this tuple is present here. Okay, yes, here they are saying x3. Yeah, I just missed it here. So x3 is written here. The same thing I was saying, that x1 is the new row for the that name. Okay, so you have x1, you have x2, and now you have also x3. So first time you read the two of them, and then you write x3. So next time you are reading three of them. Okay, so two rows and three rows. So they are saying that phantom is a tuple. Tuple mean the field, the row. Okay, the complete row, which is visible in, which is invisible in part of the transaction, but it is visible in the other part of the transaction. So how we can avoid this kind of thing? In our example, T1 reads the list of the products, T2 insert a new product, and when T1 rereads, a new product appears. This is the problem, okay? So what they're saying next, in static database, conflict serializable implies the serializability. So now they are making some, rules. They are saying up till now, whatever we have, what I was saying, the precedence graph, we cannot apply here the precedence graph because it's a dynamic database. What is dynamic database? That during the execution of your transaction, you are adding and deleting the rows. Okay. Up till now, whatever we were talking about before this, they were static database. Static database mean that you have already data inside the table, and we suppose that there are no insertions and no deletions from the table. Okay. At the start of the transaction, if you have 100 rows, they will stay 100 rows. Okay. You are just either reading the data or either you are just updating the values of those variables, but you are not changing the number of tuples or rows in your tables. Okay, that is a static database, and in those static databases, conflict serializability or serializability concepts are applicable. But these conflict serializable concepts we cannot apply on the dynamic databases. What is dynamic databases? Dynamic databases that on the run during the execution, transactions are adding the or inserting the new rows, or maybe they are deleting the rows. Okay, this phantom problem. So how to handle this kind of situation? Because transaction can do anything, like they can perform any operation. It is not restricted that they will only read and they will only update. No, they can insert the new rows and they can delete the existing one. So this is the case in the dynamic one, but conflict serializability is not applicable in the dynamic databases. So strict UPL but not the serializability. So locking mechanisms also sometime before, if you remember at the start of this chapter, we talk about the locking mechanism. So what we do, we take the locks on all the variables, right? We were taking the locks on the variables and then we do the changes. But in phantom problem, this is not possible because it's something changing with the whole table. So what to do? You log the entire table. So what you do in this case, if you are going to work with some table and you in dynamic databases, if you have static databases, then no problem. You can only log the variables or data elements. But if you are working in a dynamic environment, then what you have to do before starting throwing transaction or executing your transactions, you have to log the entire table, mean whole table. Okay. So when you will log the whole table, okay, no one can, add or delete anything in that. So for example, in this case, if transaction one take the lock on the product, okay, this product table. So if it takes the lock on the product table, then this transaction 2 cannot insert in anything in this blue, right? Sorry, in the product, in this product table, because it is already locked by the T1. So when T1, whatever want to do with the product table, when it will finish, it will release the lock and then T2 can work with the product table. So before we were, applying the locks on the variables like name and colors in the static databases. But in the dynamic databases, we will lock the whole table. So nobody can change anything. Look the index entry for the blue if the index is log, sorry, not log. Look the index. Or what we can do, wherever you have the indexes for the blue color, lock all of them. Okay, so nobody can change the rows related to the color blue. This is the one of the way, but it depends that if the indexes are made in the database. Our today's new chapter is about the indexes. Or use the predicate locks, a lock on an arbitrary predicate. These are different kind of the locks that we haven't studied, but they can, they're saying that you can also apply the special locks on that. So, but they're saying that dealing with the phantom is expensive, mean that you need a lot of computations and lots of implementation. for dealing with this kind of problem in the database. So what the story behind this, like try to avoid the dynamic databases and stay on the static databases, but this is not possible all the time. Okay, so this is the end of this chapter. Any questions? Okay, so this is our chapter 5. This is the query processing and optimization. Okay, so in this chapter, up till now, we talk about many things: transactions, problems with the transactions, then their concurrent execution, and when they are concurrently working together, what kind of problems we see. Okay, so serialization, and then how to deal with that. Then we talk about the logs, and then we talk about the recovery. Okay, so like if you have any problem and anomalies occurs and you lost your data, then how to recover that data. Now, in chapter 5, we are going to talk about the query processing and optimization. What is query? Actually, what you do with the database, either you are storing the data, okay, or either you are getting information from the database. This is the very, very simple main purpose of your database. Either you are storing data or either you are getting back that data in the form of the information. So that whole process of getting the information from the database is known as query. Query is like a sawal, okay, that you are asking question from the database. So in database language we call it query. So whenever we send queries, this transaction is also a kind of a query that select all from product where color is blue. This is a small SQL query. Actually, this is you are asking a question from the database that give me um, answer for the products who has color blue. Okay, the products which has the color blue. So this is a kind of a question. So this query processing and optimization is important in the database. Why? Because whenever we are sending queries to the database, how first of all it will process in your database, and our aim as a user is always to get the answers very quickly. Okay, like we send a query and we cannot wait like 1 hour or 2 hour for such a small thing. Queries can be complicated, complex, and longer, but always being user and database administrator, your aim is to get the responses very quickly and fast and correct. So this comes under the query processing and optimization. Processing means that when you send the query to the database, how it will process it, and how process mean that what way it will use to answer you so that it can be as fast as possible. So this comes under the optimization. That how you will optimize. Optimize mean that how you will organize a query or how you will process it, that it will take your less time, less database need to do the less computations and less effort. Okay. So in this we will talk about the three things basically: tuning of the indexes, tuning of the database design, tuning of the queries. So this is the way that how basically we can process and optimize the queries. So what they say, every database system is developed to fulfill the data requirements of its user and application program. All the workload numbers used during the physical design process are normally good estimate of the expected actual numbers. After a DB is deployed and is in operation, actual use of the applications, transactions, queries, and view reveals the factor and the problems areas that may not have been accounted for during the initial physical DB design. So what they are saying here that, okay, like I said, the purpose of every database system is to fulfill the requirements from the users and the application programs. We have stored the data in the database system and we want to retrieve the data from the database. This is the simple main purpose of using the database. Okay, we want to store the data and later we want to use that data. But when we are planning to make this database, okay, so before that, you have to make a design of that database. So when you are planning and you are designing this database before the implementation, you make the physical design and logical design, if you remember in chapter 1, okay? Physical design means that how you will store the data, what kind of data structures you will use, and actually how you will store the data on the disk, okay? This is all about that. So you can only estimate actual numbers or the actual working you will get to know when you will implement that data and when the users will work with that, right? But what they are saying here, that before implementing the database, while you are planning its physical design, you try to estimate that what will be the good, way of processing your queries will be enough for this database, right? But when you will get the actual numbers, they may not be the same as you think of. So what they are saying, the estimated values used in the physical design can be revised by gathering the actual statistics about the usage patterns. Resource utilizations as well as internal DBMS processing can be monitored to reveal the bottlenecks. It is therefore necessary to monitor and revise the physical DB design constantly. So this is what I have said this, that when you are planning your physical design of your database, you can only estimate, you can only guess, okay, that okay, this resource will be required for processing your this kind of data. But after implementing the database, you will get the actual, values, that how much time you need to process one kind of queries, then how much time or how much resources you need to process the other kind of queries. So altogether, after implementing it and after using it, you have to maybe change your physical design and you have to revise your design. So then you can improve the query processing in your system. There are two parameters through which you normally measure the performance of your database: response time and throughput. Okay, these are the two ways that can tell you that if your database is performing well or not. Response time, like how quickly you get answers from your database. You send some query or you are trying to run some transaction, so how quickly you will get the response. This is the response time. Okay, for example, I ask you a question, and if you answer me quickly, response time is very good. Okay, if you just give me answer in 10 seconds, it's great, right? Response time is very good. But in 1 minute, response time is too long, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So as the time will increase, that's mean the response time is poor. Okay, so lesser the time, the better is the performance, right? Second thing is the throughput. So same is the case with the database. Again, just remember that we are asking the questions from the database. We are trying to retrieving the data from the database. So if you are getting your data quickly from the database, that means response time is good from your database and your database is performing well. Throughput means that maximum output you can get from the database. Okay, whatever queries or transactions you are trying to execute on your database, and it give you the required material or required data as much as you want, that is known as the throughput. So the maximum output that you required from one system is the throughput. So same case is with the database, that if it gives you the maximum output possible, then the throughput is good and your DB is working well. The performance of a DBMS on a commonly asked queries and typical update operation is the ultimate measure of the database design. A DBA can improve the performance. Okay. So what they are saying, the database management system, the performance of database management system, this I have already said, commonly ask the queries and update the operations. So actually, again, just repeating, what is the main purpose of the database? Store the data and retrieve the data. Retrieve means get that data back in the form of queries. So this is the main purpose of your database or your database management system. So we will say that any database management system, this DBMS or your database is good, performing good when it gives you the it gives your answers quickly and with the required material. So we'll say this is good. And if it is not doing this, then this is not good, right? It is not performing well. And who will do this kind of improvements? Database administrator. Just skip that. Um, okay. So the first thing is the database tuning. Tuning means that you are fixing the problem. Okay, you are trying to improve the things that will improve the working of any system. That is tuning. Okay, I don't know if you have ever used a radio system. Okay, radio system that we listen for the songs or for the programs. So there is a button for the tuning. So when we rotate it or when we use the buttons, the channel is tuned. So it will find the frequency and it will give you the required channel. So that is tuning. Tuning means that you do kind of a settings or a fixing in a system that will make it workable. So the same thing we are going to do with the database tuning, that if we will avoid this kind of stuff, or if we will fix these problems in our database, then our database will perform better. So database tuning implies that the physical design of your database should be reviewed and modified according to the changes in the requirement. And if there is any problems, then you have to look for them and then fix for them. This is known as database tuning. So first of all, what they are saying, whatever physical design you have made for your database, after using that database, if you feel like that there is need of change in your because before using any database you don't know that actually what will be the requirement. You know, you have an idea, but actually you will get to know after the use. Okay, so after the use, whatever the statistics will come, you will get to know the actual requirements. So revised, or maybe there is a need of a change in your physical database design. So change that, and if there is any problems, fix them. Okay, so that is known as the database tuning. The goals of database tunings include to make the application run faster. Okay, we want our database to perform faster, to lower the response time of the queries. The same thing, lower the response time. Whenever you send some query to your database, you should get the answer very quickly. Okay, and we will try to do that as much as we can do. Okay, to improve the overall throughput of the transactions. The same thing, the maximum output your transactions should get from the database. So this is the aim of your database tuning, and how we can do that by changing the or by revising your physical database design. During the DB tuning, the design decisions made in the physical DB design are revisited and adjusted according to the up-to-date data and performance requirement. This is what I have said, the same thing. So specific actions taken to tune a DB are very much DBMS and operating system dependent. A DBM must aware. Okay, so here they are saying that whatever database you have and you want to tune it, it's all depend that what kind of database management system and what kind of operating system you have. So they are dependent on that. Maybe if you are using Windows and you are using Oracle as a DBMS, then the physical design of your database needs different kind of requirements. But at the same time, if you are using the same database on the DB2, it's a DBMS, and Linux is your operating system, then the physical design will have the different requirements, right? So being a database administrator, you will decide that what kind of changes and tunings you need for the DB. Anyway, there are three kinds of database tuning. That includes the tuning of indexes, tuning of the database design, and tuning of your queries and views. Other factors could be that review for the log files and data archiving. Data archiving means that how you are storing your data. Anyway, we start with the First type, tuning indexes. What are the indexes first of all? An index is an access structure created to make access to the data in the data file faster. So first of all, we should know what is an index and why we make it. So index is also kind of a structure that we create to find our data quickly in a large files. Okay. So how I can explain it? Maybe if you have ever used the books. Okay. So at the end of the book, there is an index. At the end of the book, there is an index. So for example, you have a book of database design. You have 700 pages in the book. Okay, you have a 700 pages in the book, and in that book you have the different chapters, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For example, 10 chapters. Now in this 700 pages book, you want to see where is the information about Oracle. Okay, where this word Oracle is coming in this book. Okay, Oracle. So is it easy to look every page and see that, and on every page like you will have 50 jumla sentences, right? So it will be so difficult to find this Oracle word in the 700 pages book, right? But there can be an easy way, index. So what the bookmakers or publishers do, they make an index, and in that index they give you that word and all the numbers of those pages where this word will be. Okay, so we have the whole book. At the end we have the index, and then you will have alphabetical order of ABC, and your word is Oracle. Okay, your word is Oracle. So you go into the O. Okay, in the O you will find the word Oracle, and in front of that word you will see the page numbers. So we suppose that this Oracle word is on the 20 page, it is on the 87 page, and it is on the 150 page, or it is on the 156 page, and like this, right? So you can go easily on the 20 page. Okay, so you will go quickly on the 20th page of the book, and you will see, oh, Oracle is written here, so you can read that what they are talking about, what kind of information. Then you can see on the 87, 150, 156. So this is known as index. So basically index has a, you can say, a pointer towards the actual data. It is also in your data structures, Tarkib-e Bayanat. Index does not have the data itself, but it points to the place where the actual data is. Got it? So this is known as the index. So same kind of indexing we can do for our databases. In database, we have the tables, right? And in that table, you can have like thousand of, rows in one table. And in that table, if you want to, for example, you write a query, select name from student where name, no, okay, I write this. Select name from student where GPA is 4, right? So I'm saying go to the table student and find me the name of the student who has GPA 4. So in that table, if I have like 1000 girls, so they can, many girls can have 4, right? We have this table. This is my table, like this. And this. Like this, I have like so many rows here, okay? We say that 1000 of them. 1000. But I have to get the name of only those students. So what the query, will do, it will go to the student table and will start reading every row. every row. So that is known as the table scanning. It will scan the whole table. So is it a good way of answering the query? What will happen? Your query will take more time. So the response time will increase. And if the response time will increase, that means your DB is not performing well. Yes, this is the problem. At the start, like I said, that the response time should be low as much as possible. So we want to avoid that thing. So how we can find an efficient way? So we will make an index. Okay. So index can tell you exactly, okay, or it will tell you the rows where the GPA is for. So on the GPA column, we will make an index. Okay, and wherever it will find the 4, it will tell you the row address of that. So for example, row 3 has the GPA 4, so it will tell you that okay, go to the row 3, and then like this you can find out the quickly all the rows where GPA is 4. So basically index is a structure, okay, it's access structure where you give the address of the place where actual data is. And why we created? In order to avoid the complete scanning. We do not want to read the whole table. Why? Because it will increase your response time. And if you will increase the response time to your queries, that means your DB is not performing well. Okay. So that's the story, that why we need to create the indexes. Now I hope you will understand, you have an idea that what is index. So then the field of the records in the file on which an index is created is called the index field. Like that my GPA, okay? You always create the indexes on some fields. So that is known as the index field. In existing indexes has to be revised for the following reasons. If you have already created indexes in your database or on some tables, okay, or on some fields, you have to frequently revise them for the following reason. What are those reasons? Certain queries may take too long to run for lack of an index. Certain indexes may not get utilized at all, and certain indexes may be causing the excessive overhead. The first one is saying that if you have created already an index but your query is still taking so long to work, then you have to check that what is the problem in this index. Do we need to change it or do we need to remove it? Sometimes you have the second one, indexes may not get utilized at all. Sometimes you create the indexes on some fields but they are not completely used by any queries, so we need to revise them. Or sometimes we create the indexes which do overhead. Overhead mean it using lot of resources and taking more time than required. So we need to change them. The activities for tuning the indexes can be re-examine, periodically reorganize, and dropping an index and rebuilding it. This the solution to these three. Okay, we have to check that whether we need this index. So re-examine, recheck it, and then also reorganize. That maybe one time you have created the index on one field, maybe next time you need to change it on other field. Okay, so you have to do this kind of readjustment again and again. And sometime you have to drop the index, maybe you don't need them anymore and they are just utilizing more of your resources. So just drop them, and whenever you need to rebuild them. So these are the guidelines that you can follow in order to guidelines for the index selection, that when you have to create the index and on which fields you have to make the indexes. So the guideline one, rule one is do not build the index unless some queries benefit from it. Whenever possible, choose the indexes that speed up more than one query. So first of all, they are saying that it is not necessary all the time that you have to make the indexes. Okay, only make them when some query needed. Okay, in some query you really need them, like in my query I said give me the name of the students who had GPA equal to 4, right? So in my table there were like 10,000 of rows and many students could have GPA 4. So there was one way that it scans the whole table, so it will take more time. But if I create the index, okay, on the GPA column or field, it will give me only the rows or the rows address quickly. So I can go quick, my query can go quickly and take the values from those rows. Okay. But it may not be the case all the time. Sometimes you don't need the index. Okay. So they are saying that always see that if it is required or not. And second thing, they are saying that if you have created the index on any field, uh, it should be applicable to many queries, not just one. Like I wrote the one. So this GPA, maybe you required somewhere else in other query, an other type of query, right? Where it is important. So try to make the indexes for number of queries. That should be your rule one. Rule two, attributes mentioned in the where clause are candidates for the indexing. Like you can see in my select query, where it was, I wrote that, where it has gone. Okay, maybe I have cleared that. Where I wrote select name from student where GPA is 4. Name is also field, GPA is also field, ID is also field, but I choose the GPA. Why? Because it was written in the conditional, where clause. So they are saying that try to choose a fields for indexing where which are written in the where clause. This where, okay. An exact match selection condition suggests that attribute considered for executing. A range selection condition suggests that B plus tree index be considered for attributes in the selection condition. So they are saying more details. Like I wrote here, where GPA is equal to 4. Okay, this is an exact match. Okay, this is an exact match condition. And the range selection could be where GPA is greater than 3.5 and GPA is less than 4.5. Here I am giving, a selection, a range. I'm saying here it's an exact match, but here is a range selection. Range selection means that I'm giving a range. I'm saying select the GPAs which are greater than 3.5 and they are less than 4.5, or you can say or, whatever operator you want to use here, and or, it's up to you. Okay, so it will give me a range. All the GPAs greater than 3.5 and all the GPAs, there is a selection greater than 3.5 but less than 4.5. So it's a range selection. So for both of them, they are saying, okay, you can create the indexes. For exact match selection, okay, you can do the indexing. But for the range selection, there is a special kind of indexing, B plus tree. It is something related to your data structures. Okay, B plus tree is good for insertion and deletions and searching purposes. Okay, it's a data structure. So you can create the B plus tree indexing for that. We will not go into that too much details. Okay. A B plus index is preferable because it supports the range queries as well as the equality queries. So what I have written there, where GPA equals to 4 or where GPA is greater than 3.5 and less than 4.5. So B plus tree will work with both. Okay, so it's a good situation because B plus tree will work with the equality queries and also with the range queries. After preparing the initial list of the indexes to create, consider the impact of each index on the update in the workload. If maintaining an index slow down the frequent update operation, consider dropping the index. The rule 4, they say, okay, first they are telling you when you have to create an index. Second, they are telling you on which field you should think of creating the index. The third thing they are telling you that if you have created the list of the indexes in your system, now you have to check that how much workload is increased. If they are taking more time, Okay, they have increased your response time. Also, if they are utilizing more resources, then they are not good enough. Okay, so they are not improving the performance of your database. So better to delete them. Don't use this kind of indexes. So that's mean that you have to re-examine the list of your indexes. Query optimizers generally rely on the statistics maintained in the system catalog. It is the responsibility of the DBA to make sure that the statistics are kept up to date. How to tune the indexes? Most DBMS have a command or trace facility analyze the result of the. So they are telling you that if you are working as a database administrator, how you can keep up to date your log and this stuff. So we can skip this. This is not important. I think this is enough for today. Tuning of the DB we will start tomorrow. So in this whole story, what you have to need to remember, basically what you should understand, that the purpose of the database is to store the data and later on to retrieve that data. Retrieve means take back the data, okay, for information. So when you are taking back the data, you should have a good performance of your DB. So the good performance of database, how you will explain that? It should have a less response time, it should have a maximum throughput, and it should have a less overhead on its resources. So these are the 3 points. Now, how we can achieve these 3 points? By the tuning of the databases. So the tuning of the databases include the tuning of indexes, tuning of the DB physical design, and tuning of the queries. Today we talk about the tuning of indexes. First of all, what are the indexes? Indexes are the access structures that we create in order to save the information for the places where actual data is. And why we make that? In order to avoid the complete table scanning. And this table scanning means that you have to read the whole table. And when you will read the whole table, what will be the problem? It will take more time. And we want to, on the other hand, we are saying that we want the less response time. So if we will read the whole table, how our response time will be less, right? So in order to balance that thing, we make the indexes. This is the first thing. And then on which part of the table you create the indexes? On the field or the column. Okay, field, column, these are the same name. So we create the indexes on the columns of the table. And what are the rules in order to create the indexes? Check that on which field you can create the um, index. Okay, and if it is increasing the performance of your DB, or if it is decreasing the performance of your DB. And normally they are saying the fields that you choose in the where clause, on those you can apply the indexes, right? And they are saying that B plus tree indexes are good for the range selection and the equality selection. So that's all about the tuning of indexes. Tomorrow we will start with the tuning of the DB. Any questions? Girls, do you have any questions? Okay, have you seen your assignment and your quiz? Quiz is from the, let me check, it is from which chapter? It is, I think, from the chapter 2. Yeah, it is from the chapter 2. Sorry, chapter 3, not chapter 2. It is open for 1 or 2 weeks. Okay, so it is from the chapter 3. Your quiz is from the chapter 3, and your assignment. Do you have any questions regarding your assignment? Let You check my assignment. Okay, here is your assignment. What you have to do in this assignment, there is a question 1. There are two transactions are given, okay? Client 1 and client 2. Basically, there are two transactions and it's a SQL code. Update the customer, set rental plus 3 where C name is Fred. One is doing transaction 1 or client 1 is doing this, and the transaction 2 or client 2 is doing the same thing, but he is doing here 5. So what they are saying, two people attempt to rent the movies from the Fred from the two different terminals. Now you have to identify which kind of anomaly, okay? And the conflict type. Anomaly, you remember last time I said lost update, inconsistent read, and dirty read. Okay, three types of anomaly. And in each anomaly, we have the conflict type. Like for the lost update, we have write conflict. In the consistent read and inconsistent read and the dirty read, we have the read write anomaly, right? So in the anomaly, you have to tell me that which anomaly name is here and the conflict type. It's a read write, okay? And then also state that what will be the final value of the rentals if the initial value is 10. So if it is starting value is 10, what will be the final value after these two? Okay, clear? It's a very small question, but just you need to understand actually. Any question on this question? Girls, do you have any question about this? Okay, that's me, no question. Then the second question, you have to fill up this table. You have the values for x is equal to 4, y is equal to 8, and n is equal to 10. First, fill this table and then tell me that which anomaly is this. Again, is it lost update, is it inconsistent read, or is it dirty read? Just tell me that. Yeah, this is that. And the question 3 is about this schedule. First, you have to tell me if it is a serial schedule or non-serial schedule. Okay, so you will write it is serial schedule, it is not a serial schedule. And then I say that if it is equivalent to a serial schedule, then it is equal to which serial schedule? Go to your chapter 3 slides. There are 4 types of schedules, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if it is equivalent to some serial schedule, then which one is that? And then solve it for the values A 200 and B 200, okay? Choose the A here 200, also B here 200, and give me the final values of these two one, okay? So it's very simple. You can do it and upload it. So that's all for today. Give me your attendance. Okay, Al Johra Rashid, Amal Akil, Amal Akil. Aman Ape.